We're live. Checking these very quick swig of coffee before we go live. So, first of all, thank you very much for today, for picking up the book. I hear very early on in Dublin, you have to go as far as Drum to go pick it up, so really appreciate that. There's lots of interest in the city there. Thank you very much. I thought it was brilliant. I'm really proud of this book. I think it looks great. Love the story. Really misdrawn the character. It does a nice true for me as well. There was a lot about this that really got scratched some issues with, like just how big this god was. Fantasy settings we got put them in these pages again. Just maybe fighting at the bit to do something like this for so long that I was just so excited to do it and when I got the opportunity. Thank you for picking up the book. I have some copies of the trade in my shop over the weekend, along with more films now. Along with these sketches that I've been doing. There we go, there's our combo. And we're up to this. So I have all these guys as a speaker. There's our big bad guy, Ernest. And another big bad guy, King. I have all these guys up on the shop for sale as well. And then, for this we go back to do our one stream a week on Wednesday, because my immune system can't keep up for 3 extra drawings and 3 extra streams a week on top of work and everything else. And then tonight's going to be a little different. I said it yesterday on all the social TikTok and all that kind of stuff, that instead of doing the kind of graphic thing with drawings of the characters that I've been doing, I'd like to do something a bit more detailed. So I kind of want to do a cover quality image today. I'm not drawing an A4 size digital piece or an A4 size piece of paper to the tree. And it's going to be on, you might have seen the pencils on my socials yesterday, but it's going to be basically this guy here, Frazetta's Lecter. Really iconic image, one of my favourite fantasy movies ever, one of my favourite fantasy artists. And I kind of found that as I was trying to figure out this, everything in Carith and the world of Zanzi we live in lent itself really well to it. So we have our horribles, which is a mix between a horse and a bull. Actually a mix between a Spanish fighting bull, a Belgian blue cow, and a destrier horse. Just a massive momentum of muscle and horns. And this was the steed chosen by the army that Zanzi fought with. So this was the image I came up with. It's a little different than Frazetta's, so that's okay. But it's pretty much on the money there. And even animals like the rat pigeons that exist in Carrickfilm, I've got put them in here. I'm going to try to paint that guy with that brush I like for clouds. Last, trying to do all the work first. And even here, we see a little helmet from the Death Dealer, or a Death Dealer-esque thing helmet. So we'll just get started and we'll get straight into this. We'll show you a copy first, okay? And then we'll start with the rat pigeon. So I'm trying streaming on Twitter tonight as well for the first time. I think I can stream on an extra platform that I wasn't streaming on, and just last minute there decided to just give it a go. So I'm gonna start with these guys. They'll warm me up into the rest of it, as they're just going to be silhouettes. And just joining me, I like my nibs there at 7.1 out of 11. We're doing a lot of posters and t-shirts and concept stuff recently for an array of different kind of jobs. So every time I kind of start a program now, it's a gamble as to what way I've left the brush. Usually it's just that, and I work with that. And if I need a smaller nib or a smaller brush, take a different brush here and the settings here. The program I'm using, if you're joining me for the first time, this is Sketchbook Pro. I love this program, and I have done for a long time. It has been very good to me. I really didn't like a lot of the more common drawing programs. I thought Photoshop was fantastic for painting in, but never really liked drawing in it. I never really liked storyboarding in it. It had a certain place for me, you know. But this program is just so good for drawing. I was almost against going digital when I was starting off, and I kind of needed to find something that allowed me to apply my digital or my traditional training, traditional or digital, so I can get going with something. And this program has just been a real treat. Very little issues with it. It won't be anything you can't naturally do. There's no make pretty, there's no make shiny button here. It just allows you to apply your traditional skills on a digital canvas. I use Clip Studio a lot as well for illustrating, but when I'm storyboarding now, I use Storyboard Pro. I love Storyboard Pro. I was streaming on a couple of platforms last week. I think I figured out, I don't know who's coming to me from whether it be Twitch or YouTube. I guess tonight I'll figure out if Twitter is the same kind of trick on it. But if you picked up a copy of GODFELL, thank you very much. I'm delighted to have an indie book also well. I'm not international debut was the kind of artist. It was a fun one. This one with that flat. We should see what shapes of it. I know pigeons don't have big wings, like, but as I needed to push the silhouette a bit, I took some liberties, and I regret nothing. I often see folks do warm-up drawings as characters or backgrounds and stuff on their socials. And I used to love watching them. I never really felt like it was a warm-up. And then when I tried doing it, I kind of found that I was spending 40 or 50 minutes warming up for the day. So sometimes I'm just going to try to find an easy bit in the drawing like this, and use that to kind of get me thinking, and use my shoulder. kind of like, I guess, if you're actually working out, there's no point doing tons of running if you're going to go squatting, you know. Trying something that's more applicable to what you're about to do. So if you are doing a background heavy day, it makes sense to warm up doing a background. But kind of fun, but come on the background with a character. And if I find out that if I've made a big mess at the end, if I'm drawing digitally, I would take that risk if I was drawing digitally. But drawing traditionally, I'd probably a bit tighter going in, but I still warm up on the drawing. I don't know what it is. So I don't know if anyone's really read some of those interviews we did, or maybe not entirely, because I guess they get a bit wordy. But we did a lot, I said we, I mean Chris and I did a lot of interviews before GODFELL issue 1 came out. I hope my mic is picking me up, I just realised I'm quite far away from it. Indeed, we did that. It'll be a little better. There we go, and raise the voice. But in one of those interviews, I was talking about how we came up with Zanzi's steed, because everyone kept asking about the animals in character and how I came up with them. Was it just because I was a massive fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender? I am a massive fan of that, by the way. Love that show. And I've been watching the live action one recently. It's pretty good. Haven't finished it yet, but I'm still enjoying it. But the answer was no. I was trying to. Chris gave me a description for Zanzi, and the description was a force of nature. He was a human as a force, a walking force of nature. And after deciding on our design, every horse I drew, because there's always that noble image of your warrior on a horse, and every horse just didn't really seem to land the design. It didn't look like it was worthy enough to carry that force of nature. We got that into it. And then, excuse me, what I decided on at one point was, what else could be this? And then they picked up me, this is a fantasy book, and here it is. They exist in fantasy for almost the point of fantasy. Not just in Avatar: The Last Airbender. We're fond of those turtle doves. Who isn't? But it is great to be compared to that show. I love it. I think any kind of comparison to that is a comparison. It's very, very well. But it just kind of clicked as soon as I realised it doesn't have to be just a horse. I could make this a mixture of almost reflections of Zanzi's character. You know, the bull, the Spanish fighting bull, and I found these like absolutely ridiculous real life cows. If you're watching this and you're not using your phone, maybe you're on your computer or you have another screen or something to Google Belgian blue horse, and you're going to see the most jacked horse, or Belgian blue cow. Sorry, you're going to see the most jacked cow you've ever seen. Like, this thing does nothing but drink protein shakes and lift weights, and it's unreal. And that was kind of Zanzi. Zanzi was this big, massive mountain of muscle and force of nature, you know? So it made sense to me to just kind of try and play with that a bit, and it seemed to work almost immediately. I liked it straight away, ran it by Chris, then it got run by the editorial involved, and then very much stuck the landing. So after that, then it was again trying to figure out what other animals exist in Carrickfern, and had a lot of fun doing that. My daughter's a big fan of Hilda, so in one of the mock-ups, I jokingly threw in a deer fox, and there was a lot of eagle bear just because I was afraid Wizard of the Coast would sue me for threw in an owl bear, and then cat monkeys, rat pigeons, obviously, it's just one of those, and yeah, but just try to really create our own world, you know. I often get a chance to do that. Unless you're Brandon Sanderson, probably not often, you know. He seems to do it every week and make it convincing. A huge thanks to Chris, and Raven, Trina, Vittorio. We have something coming out actually, so Vittorio, keep an eye there. And Jim. The art team is great. If you actually look at the last issue, or actually not issue, trades out now, I can talk about that. I drew what's in there. And the Vault editorial were on the same issue. And just as I don't want to talk about the second, I could spoil something. How would I? Did I spoil something? Yeah, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. But to keep Price peeled, will see us all in there. And I don't think anyone in that group looks as cool as Jim does. So I kind of found the trick with these was to keep them somewhat graphic and simple to get something drawn well and within the time that we have here. This is a lot. This is like one of the more complicated animals there is going to draw, plus a few other animals added in. And then full body shot of Zanzi, complicated as well, and a bit of a background. I've got even quite a long background. So I'm going to try to get as much as I can within the time frame. I might go over a bit tonight, but there's so much I can go over as well. But let's just have a bit of fun with it. I think it makes sense for the last live stream drawing on Friday to be at the God. I haven't drawn the God yet. That kind of ties out pretty well with Easter. As I realized the other day, my book is called GODFELL. Easter weekend is this weekend. So God Rising. I wish I had thought of that beforehand, but it's I don't know, some kind of silly ad or something. Maybe or something. Maybe just looking hard. No, thank you very much for letting me know. Let me turn that down. That's an easy fix. I hope that is better. Thank you, Cinnamon. Thank you very much. I hope that's better. Let me know if it is. They had a different setup on Friday and way better. Excellent. Nice one. I'll keep it that way. Thanks for letting me know. But I had a different setup on Friday because I was trying to set this up for a traditional drawing as opposed to a digital one. So I was over on my animation disc and mics and everything were moved. So I'm only kind of moving them back now and trying a different place for my mic. So hopefully this works. I kind of found in the last few streams before this because my head is down a lot while I'm looking at what I'm drawing, that my voice wasn't going towards my mic, which is over here. I now have it over here, so hopefully it's considerably better. It's funny, I was looking at this image for years and years and years, and in my head, the death dealer's horse always had its mouth closed. It's only that I went to draw it like for this that I realized, oh my god, there's like steam and everything coming out of this. How did I not realize that before? It made me think of those days back in college where you're learning how to get the Pink Panther to pick up something. And you think you know how to draw somebody pick up something until you start to do it and realize you have no idea. You think you know something, then here's the art director to come tell you you know nothing. Okay. More viewers tonight. Thanks for joining in. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed doing these. I've thought about doing like drawing tips and things and tackling perspectives, anatomy, that kind of stuff. I might do that down the line if people are not really interested. But I'm getting a few requests for those on socials because I think people are afraid to say it here in case someone says something, you know, oh, that's stupid or whatever. If there's other things a stupid question. If you do have one, this is absolutely a space where you can feel free to ask anything about the process. So I had multiple versions of these guys. There was another version of them that you saw in the comic, where it had the traditional kind of saddlebag. It didn't have this armor, and that was just because it served a different purpose. Zanzi was kind of going off on a journey her own and needed horse to do several different things. Or a steed, I guess, because it's not a horse. It's a horrible. The more and more I try to draw steam and smoke and clouds more realistically, the more I don't like it. And the more I kind of just fall back on these kind of shapes of where you see air rushing, air gathering, and then drifting away, just far more fun. I think far more pleasing as well. Just make that line a bit thinner. So on the last few streams, I pretty much had the image figured out before I started streaming. The first few times I didn't. I thought I did, and then I have to quickly pencil in on top of the digital pencils I did because I left too much work to myself, and decided that not only was it better as a kind of a show here where I was figuring out things less while I was drawing and I was just on about the execution. I think tonight there'll be still a little bit more figuring it out. There's so much going on. I might change my mind on some of the pencils. Some of those plans might change. And if you see me do it and not say why I'm doing it, or like if you feel like maybe I miss something, you can absolutely shout and I will tell you why I've deviated from the plan. I usually have a good reason for doing so. Because when I start inking, I like to just be about inking. Here I'm trying to keep some kind of energy in the drawing still that I'm sure I'm going to lose on my pencils. But something about inking you can get the light back if you're clever about it. And also you can add in things like textures and so if you see me do something that looks like it's a big change from the pencils and I don't tell you why I'm doing it, feel free to ask. Notice I don't use the paintbook tool a lot. I think there's time and a place for it. But I think if you immediately go to use it, if you haven't set things up properly, like I like the way is it Clayton Henry uses it, I think. But he has so much penciled in or inked in at the start that he still manages to keep some textures and some energy. Whereas I kind of find that lots of folks who just kind of draw in the shape and black, like use a the paint bucket to black it in straight away, they miss opportunity to do things like add textures to stuff. Like this doesn't have to be a fully, completely blacked out way that it can be kind of scribbled and stuff and give a sense of wear and tear. This leather strap has seen some more. So I think if you just go straight in with the bucket, you end up with something practically clean, and it can actually kind of hurt what you're trying to achieve. So try and think about that stuff, use it where it's needed. I did a drawing of Ben Grimm on the stream, and he has kind of a spandexed pants, so it's a good place to use it there because it can kind of help make it look super shiny and convince everyone what texture it's made of. But if you're drawing on like ground or rock or leather, like here, it might make more sense to try and add a bit of texture to it as opposed to just use your paint bucket. And when you see animals like that Belgian blue cow I was talking about, that was really important reference for these guys. It'll indicate to you how extreme your designs can go as well, where you can push it, where you shouldn't push it. And I would recommend always trying to cartoon or design real life reference and not another artist's interpretation of whatever journey they've gone on to get where they're going to be, because you'll only have a watered down version of what they've done already. So do yourself a favor, spend some time looking up things. I know it's a bit harder these days because I kind of find that you really have to go that extra mile to get sourced material from actual things, as opposed to just going with the AI images that are on Google at the moment. There's so many of them, and it's become an issue to try and find something real. But if you make the effort, you find something that is actually a product that exists and not someone else's interpretation. Or I think last week I had to look up a female fighter tying Muay Thai hand ties on before he put on her mitts, and what I noticed was it was Alexa Clark. He was this fitness enthusiast on Instagram, and it was just a really badly painted version of her putting on the gloves, and like it was everywhere. Like it was more of that than the actual reference I needed of an actual pro fighter is what I was looking for, putting on some bands, and God, it was way harder than it should have been. I don't know what's going on with the AI stuff. It's not very good at the moment. I think it probably has a place. The place is absolutely not ripping off other artists, achieving their styles, and without their permission. It's pretty criminal at the moment. If you've been watching the other drawings I do traditionally, you notice that I'm far more deliberate with my lines. I think it's just the safety net of drawing digitally and talking, where I'm constantly making mistakes and undoing, going over bits, and excuse me, I don't know what it is. Maybe this is that one time Thank you very much. I think that texture really helps. Thank you. Um, oh, thanks. Thank you. I think the brushes in this program are just fantastic. Like if you come from a traditional background, it's going to feel more like you're at home here. That you don't have to learn a new set of tools, a new set of words or things you're already aware of. You can kind of just pick up and go. Thanks, and I really hope I get to draw these guys down the line again. I think they could have more story to tell. So you can see maybe here I have a little line drawing. That's just to tell me that when it comes to the hoof here, that's the direction I want my brush to go in, and just to make them feel there's a sense of volume to these things, and it's not just a flat, plain surface. It's crazy to watch. Oh, thank you. Thank you for becoming my favorite presents, and I appreciate all that. Thank you. I hope you're getting something from it. If there's anything you want to ask about, please fire away. And please tell your friends. If you think they might get something from this, please let them know about it. Actually, I have a newsletter that comes out every couple of weeks. One will be coming out at the end of the week this week. When you sign up to the newsletter, you get a discount in the Bounty store online, and there'll be a bunch of stuff getting put up on the store very soon. I was so caught up in the book coming out today, I forgot to plug my store. When I talk about cartooning from real life and finding real animals and finding out how to manipulate them for your designs, do the same with your clothing and your armor and your weapons as well. Don't just start drawing stuff out of your head. It'll take a while to build up that mental library you need for the job. Sorry, I still have the sniffles. Pardon if I keep cleaning a big cough or something out of the way there. But that mental library will come with time. Don't rush it. But definitely reference from real life. I think I was looking at horses from medieval, there was samurai plated horses, and I think I can really kind of find that would make Zanzi look more of a scary warrior. This is one of the reasons why I like drawing in Sketchbook Pro, actually, the rotate option, because it's just like using my animation disc. And the more I can make my digital programs reflect how I work traditionally, the happier I am with it. If only they weren't such a pain to lug around, I'd probably bring them the cons for sketches, but I'll just stick with my A4 clipboard for now. The reason I'm turning it around is just to keep it at such an angle that my arm is very comfortable at drawing. Your arm is a lever, so it works particularly well at a particular angle, and then it's just very beneficial to keep moving it around. It's not completely necessary to have that option. It's not completely necessary to have an animation disc, but I recommend getting one if you can. Are you rotating physical knob or using touchscreen? I'm actually using my keyboard here. I haven't been to one over by the touchscreen tablets just yet. I haven't. I don't think they've really added anything to the process. I think having my hand to my left down here is just as good now. And it took me a while to get back to drawing on a screen. I had done it in-house on a job for a while, but I was using an Intuos 4 wide background tablet at the time. I think that's what it's called. And what I loved about working on that was I was looking up here on a screen, my hands were down here, and never my hand getting in the way of me drawing, whereas now my hand gets in the way of me drawing. And I think I'm a bit faster drawing on a screen like this, so that's why I still do it. but it's absolutely down to preference, really. But I'm up for trying out different tablets these days as well. I'm working on a Huion at the moment, and it's been very good to me. I've enjoyed it. A few little things that I miss about the Wacom, but overall, the differences between the Wacom and this is so slim. I can't justify spending the amount of money on a Wacom when this is basically the same thing. I can't see a difference in the performance. I just can't. So yeah, Huion Canvas Green Pro or something. Also, I didn't know that Twitch has a limited amount of videos archived. I kind of thought it just archived loads of stuff. So what I'm doing now is I'm always backing up the stream with a stream on YouTube as well, and I seem to just be able to save them there. So if the replay is available on Twitch, and you need to source something I might have said, or if there's a video you wanted to catch again, or reference about a piece of equipment or a technique, you should be able to find them there unedited. We'll also have those quick edits where I speed up the thing, but it's usually a 2-hour video into a 4 or 6 minute thing, and but obviously in something that quick, you'll miss the dialogue where I'm saying that kind of stuff. One thing I'd say about inking is to not get so afraid of the ink. I think the braver you can be with it, the more energy you kind of create for yourself, the more interesting an image you have. Usually I wouldn't be so just reckless with those kind of lines, but because I'm drawing digitally, I can just erase those bits, which is what I'll do in a minute. It just lets me keep that energy and that line moving in one spot. But I have to go back and make sure that the line joins where I think it should. It just does. Originally, when I was drawing the horribles, I was like trying to make something like huge, you know, something really big that like would make like Zanzi look like it's on a regular horse, you know, and she'd be dwarfing this horse, and kind of made him about as big as mooses. Like, great idea until you put it into practice, and then it looks like it's a terrible idea. I gave up on that one very quickly. But I think I have a model sheet of them floating around. I put it up when I was talking about the first issue coming out. I think I might have it referenced there to the horribles being as tall as a moose, you know. But it just ended up making Zanzi look small, which is a bad idea all around. No harm in trying these things, but when something's not working, you can't make it work. Always thinking about the direction these are moving in, so I'm getting the correct volume on the foot. Also, there's a lot more drawing in this than I'd really like. I can see why Frazetta, when he was working on the Death Eater, put a big shield in front of all this stuff so we didn't have to draw it. Smart. But then Zanzi doesn't use a shield. So if I was to put one in, there'd be a real cop out. That's kind of a tangent there. We don't like tangents. You might see a little X mark there, actually. I was looking at this guy here. That just means that I want that area blacked out. That's right. That's not my transparent brush. That can happen sometimes if I'm not paying attention. Pick the wrong color. So the idea here is that Zanzi is at war for just so long. He's not really decked out in the uniformed armor of her army. She's kind of chosen bits that maybe are still in good enough nick to look after, because she looks after her armor. You can see that in the book. but also things that maybe she saw when she was fighting someone, that that particular piece of armor looked like she'd have some use for it, so she took that. Or maybe she took some extra belts off people she'd slain to store knives like this. Um, you know, maybe it's more useful to have an extra sidearm on you than just go with the armor you're wearing. And you'll see that the weapons she's using aren't used by anyone else in her army as well. So she's really just been at this for so long. She's kind of created her own version of weaponry and armor, and moved away from what she was given when she first started out. I did it again there. It's all right. It's not a big deal to go back and fall on the white. If I was drawing traditionally, that's exactly what I would be doing. If I made a mistake, I'd be using the tip X to go over it and try and shave a mistake off a line, or draw something better, but I wasn't really happy with what I had done first. So it's okay here, but I try to use the colorless. Thanks. Try to use the colorless brush where I can. I'd imagine it helps the colorist too. I'd imagine not having to go back and flatten it and clean an image for color, and is a bit easier when it's not accidentally got bits of white in there that are unnecessary. That's if I suppose if they were straight from a PSD file. Most colors kind of work from a TIFF, so it's not really a big change to them. If this is the first time you're joining the stream, here's a tip I mentioned on a previous one. I was at a Comic-Con years ago, and I was lucky enough to talk to Sean Chen, this artist I really like. I think his stuff's amazing. And he gave me this brilliant tip. Well, he gave me a few brilliant tips, but one that was about inking was to have your page somewhere around 60-40 or 70-30 in favor of black or white on the page. And ever since I started doing that, I kind of found that energy that I would lose sometimes in pencils to inks, I might have lost it, but then I found it again somewhere else. It was a great tip. I recommend keeping that in mind, that ratio of 70-30 or 60-40. One thing I like about the ruler in Sketchbook is it has a bit of life in it. It's not just a dead flat line. It absolutely listens to how heavy or how light you're leaning on the stylus. Starting to think Sketchbook could sort of sponsor me, maybe. I talk about it so often. Even their ellipse tool here is good for that. So there's kind of a steady line the whole way through, but you can get really amazing variation if you're aiming for it. There we go. Talking and drawing is hard. Sometimes I caught my way doing something wrong. Again. Here we go. I'm glad you like those bits of detail, because I wonder sometimes if even like they're worth doing, you know, because like you can be so like like deep in on something, you wonder if it really makes a difference. So thanks for spotting that. Really get in there and scuff up all her gear. This is stuff she's been using for some time now, so you can really make it look just completely jaded and past its best by. I'm watching these things just because I don't want any tangents in this. Tangents are things, if you don't know, they can kind of flatten your image, kind of take away some good out of your image, really. You don't want any of that. Sometimes they can actually have the effect of bringing your reader or your viewer, whoever's watching or reading your work, kind of out of the illusion you're creating, and you will really struggle to get them back. So anything you can do to keep your audience engaged, I believe, is really worth doing. So much of that kind of stuff you can learn about. I think is really worth following up on. Like I did a workshop years ago at an event called Animex. It's actually where I first got to meet Jim Zubkovich, and it was very cool. Went to an animation event and spent a lot of it talking about Will Eisner. But I got to meet Ed Hooks there, who did this fantastic acting for animators workshop. I did that, and what I learned in that was just incredible. One of the big things I learned was about acting for animators, and sourcing out. I'm gonna forget his name now. Ed Hooks was talking about there's a particular social scientist who studied micro expressions, and he has a list of 7 universal micro expressions, all conveyed the same way, no matter where you're from, your culture, all that kind of stuff. It's a universal feeling and a universal feeling shown on the face the same way, no matter what. And I religiously stay by them, because I learned one massive thing was there's only one emotion conveyed asymmetrically, and that was contempt. And you kind of see a lot of folks have an asymmetrical face on their characters. They call it kind of schmar face, and everyone does it. And the fact that I know that everyone does it, and it's conveying a sense of contempt, sometimes in the wrong place of the story. It takes me out. It where can we learn more about it? Oh, do you have more resources on that? I might. I can think of that guy, Paul Ekman. There you go. I knew it would come to me. So Paul Ekman did that study, and there's quite a lot you can do. I think if you go onto his website, you can even jokingly take a test where you try to identify those 7 emotions as quick as you can, and it's really good. I think if you kind of find yourself in a spot of second guessing yourself with regards to a character's performance, I think referring to something like that can put you back on the straight and narrow, and you'll have more of a chance of landing that expression, so the audience are able to relate with that character, and all that stuff is just so very important. So Paul Ekman's study on micro expressions, and if you can find Ed Hooks online, maybe he does digital workshops now, I don't know, but I can't stress how great it was meeting him and learning from him that day. Just really, really great. Not just great technique, but he's really great at talking about the technique, so you understand it, so you're able to apply it to what you need. No problem. Slowly getting there, but I knew it would be slower tonight because this is a lot. It's not just drawing a head and shoulders like I have been doing. Also, with regards to character design, try and deviate from the norm if you can. Everyone's kind of drawing things very similarly to something else that's been successful, and it's kind of just boring. It's so worth your while trying something different. Like there's so many shows now with a kind of a space soldier type, and they're all in the same kind of space armor. Then you kind of look at the likes of Han Solo, and he's not wearing armor at all, and might not be a space soldier. Kind of is, I guess. But his outfit says a lot more about him than you believe, and kind of understand that character very quickly by the clothes he's wearing, by the way he's standing in those clothes. And that was something I was thinking about with Zanzi quite a lot. Like, it's really interesting to hear how many actors really only kind of find the role, the voice of whoever they're supposed to be working on as soon as they put on the outfit. And if you can think about your clothes, your armor, whatever your character needs, as a way of helping the performance and informing people on who they are, you'll find your design coming along, and you'll produce something far more archetypical instead of stereotypical. And then hopefully you can kind of become, oh, that person draws in this way, I kind of want something like that, that will stand out. And you do want to stand out. Just to really vary it, and if you're putting them in a certain kind of outfit, have a reason for it. Like I had said on a stream before, and I've said it in a bunch of interviews, especially about Net, because she goes through such a radical change throughout the book. She starts off quite shy, and as the book goes on, she develops into someone who's more mature and comfortable with themselves. And I remember hearing Bryan Cranston talk about Walter White, and one of the things he did with Walter White's character was give him glasses, because he wanted this person to just not be able to see the world truly for what it was, and for that metaphorical element to be represented physically, that was something new to me at the time, and it's something I've thought about in my design since. It didn't really factor into Zanzi much. I think her design came around very quickly. It had a very specific purpose. She was a soldier. And I think maybe like just something like that D&D bedroll on the back of her arm was just something to get a point across. She's not just a soldier now, she's an adventurer. She needs a different set of tools, that kind of stuff. Also, the bedroll kind of changed her silhouette dramatically, kind of made her look bigger, which was good. That was something I liked. For Zanzi to have, just I always wanted her to be the biggest person in the room, and when she wasn't, I had to have good reason for it. But when it came to Net, Chris described her to me as a living ghost. Immediately kind of conjured ideas in my head of someone who was hair had been turned white, and they would hide behind their hair almost. They were just so introverted. And as the book went on, I had less reason for her to do that. There was no reason for her to hide behind her hair after a while. And it was such a point of matter of fact about her character to start that she would need this hair to hide behind. She was kind of a rogue, I guess. She adept at hiding and getting away. And I had her, like, she was almost so good at that, she would try to almost physically hide behind her hair. And came to the point where she'd grown dramatically as a character, and that hair was no longer something she wanted to hide behind anymore. So now she ties it up at her face, up behind her head. And I even made a point of telling Chris that from this point on, her hair is not down in front of her eyes anymore, or around her face. It's all tied up. She's a different person. Just to make sure it landed that we were both on the same page with who she was now. Thanks for tuning in. No problem, I understand. There's every indication that this will take more than the 2 hours I usually give these. But yeah, I'll have it on Instagram tomorrow, I'd say at some point. Thanks for all the questions, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers. Excuse me. Still hoping I get that Chris Sam the immune system. Still hasn't happened. I have no idea how he can do a Battober every October and then not sick as a dog throughout November. Sketch every day, and I do 3 sketches extra a week, and I get the plague or something. So when I posted this picture up yesterday, I immediately saw that I made the legs a little too thin, a little too stumpy. I didn't correct how the hind part of the leg would now wrap around here. And I just realized it. Thank God I was drawn digitally for that part. Don't know if anyone's familiar with Fitzpatrick's work. A lot of his Celtic stuff, all his heroes, these big, huge, muscly horses, muscles on muscles kind of stuff. It was like their biceps had biceps, you know, and kind of can't help but think about them when I'm drawing one of these guys. Again, this part might be silhouetted, but still kind of inking it in such a way that I'm kind of filling in volume. Might leave some part white that might form part of a texture or something like that. Not always good to just straight to the paint bucket. It's faster. Sometimes deadlines make you cut corners, but there you go. It's important to be professional and on time as well as good. End of story. When I was first coming out of college, I had to compete with ex-Sullivan Bluth, amazing artists, and I could really only kind of compete in a way that I could just be as extra professional, always on time. I don't think I'd ever be late, especially when I started off. If that required me to put in a little bit of extra work, because I had given them a wrong time for a deadline. I realized after I got wrong the first time that it is best to give yourself some extra time no matter what you think the gig is going to do. Give yourself an extra little bit because something could go wrong and you want to be called for it, and when you're not, you come across as unprofessional. Like I was on one gig and it caught me out something awful, and my computer died. I had no means to draw. It was gone. I couldn't get my stuff. I could get my program transferred over to my MacBook to work off my MacBook, but and I still do this. I only back up my work at the end of a week. So everything I'd done that week was gone, and it was a lot of work. It was pretty important. I had to tell the company straight away, hey, this has happened, and I won't get a machine for some time yet, you know. It was rough, but what surprised me was the studio were fine and were actually quite okay. I was asking, I thought there'd be lots of panic. I thought there'd be, oh my God, Ben, you've really messed up. What happened here? Kind of stuff. Maybe I should have been saving far more often into a cloud. So I could have gone to the new machine and picked right up where I left off. But the studio were just happy that they were told so they could plan around it. And as soon as my new computer arrived, I got straight back into work again. But it just goes to show that they were just happy to like fill them in as opposed to keep them in the lurch, strung them along until I actually said, you know what, this happened. Well, I'm going to fix it now. If you can tell the studio you're working for ahead of time, or as the problem seems to be happening and you know it's coming down the line, they're happier because they're able to plan around it. And if they can plan around it, not much of a problem. So if you are going into storyboarding or illustration where you will be working remotely most of the time, even though you're working remotely, check in with the studio. Email them a few times a week. Just let them know everything is going okay. And or everything isn't going okay and the plan needs to be readjusted. All that's fine. I know I was talking of a story about the Huon tablet I'm working on, or Huon, still don't know how to pronounce it. The tablet I'm working on now, it died, and I needed the customer care team to step in and diagnose it, so I go fix it. Buy either a new tablet or a new stylus. I didn't want to buy a new stylus and find out it was a tablet, that kind of stuff. But I was almost certain it was the stylus. And they kept me waiting quite a bit. I had to get a lend of a Wacom off a friend of mine, Nick Roach. Hey Nick. And it suckered us a little bit. But I was able to tell Dershing, who was our editor on this book, as it was happening, and she was able to see me contact the customer care team on Twitter while it was all happening as well. And you know, just filling people in ahead of time, it helps everybody out. So I usually stream for 2 hours. Let's see. We'll definitely do the 2 hours, but we'll see how far we get in those 2 hours, and then see if it's going to be a whole other day thing of finishing this picture before we get to call it done. This was another design choice where I kind of braided the tail on the horrible, similar to Zanzi's braids. You know, not flukes, all these things are thought out. Keeping all the way to the edge. Okay. Getting there with the horrible. Keep a bit of mind on that. We'll go to the edge. You got any more coffee? Yeah, need more coffee. No, not where I want that to go. Not that either. That's probably more what I wanted. Sometimes you just know if it's not what you really intended. And little tip, don't be afraid to go back in and draw some of those strands in here. We're going to draw them on the outside too. And don't draw the same kind of strand again and again. We still want to avoid all that fully. We want kind of flat drawings. We want something that is going to be visually interesting. Okay. Phone and my email was very quiet earlier on. Not very quiet, but very manageable. But as soon as I started this, it just seems to be hopping. So if I keep looking to my left, it's just my phone catching my attention. Apologies. Yeah. Saving as we go, because I can't remember the last time I did that, and that could have been a problem. Okay. Sloppy. Shouldn't have gone over the line there. If you feel like weighing in on this, is a 2-hour drawing stream too long, too short? Would you like more? What would be your preference? Let us know in the comments. If you feel like it, don't have to. Because I have a couple of commissions booked in the next few weeks, and what I might do is, generally, depending on the kind of commission I do, some take a full day. Like some could be like this. Just a lot of work, number of hours, not a quick 2-3 hours of thing. I might stream that one pretty much from start to finish, and just kind of leave the camera on that day as I'm working. But that might be too much. I don't know. I'm gonna put it out to everybody and see how anyone feels about that. Would you like to sit there and draw or watch me draw for that long a period of time? Or is something more digestible your cup of tea? I actually really enjoy doing these because it's like I'm drawing for myself for the first time in ages. Everything I do is kind of for hire now, and this has really got me just kind of meditative. You know, it's really enjoyable. Okay, Zanzi's next. Zanzi didn't use this knife much in the book. When she did, whoa, rough time. Again, all these knives, her axe, her armor, you name it, all referenced from other knives, and even the scabbards and everything that these things are in, all referenced as well. Again, trying to find out what one would Zanzi use, would really suit her. Excuse me. When I was drawing her hand, the first time of holding the lead, I realized there was an Irish, an American, I'm sure there's other countries, but at least a difference between Irish and American styles of horse riding. And it was partially in the grip they were using. So I think it eventually became what I needed purpose in case Zanzi needed her other hand, to do something else. But for the first while, she had an Irish style of horse riding, according to her. That's how far down the reference train I really go. Oh, I see. Something was bothering me there. Sorry. Couldn't make head or tail of my pencils. Finger, knuckle, back in. There we go. That happens sometimes if I leave myself too much thinking to do and I get lost. And then I finish drawing, and the first thing I realize when I think it's finished is, oh, that was supposed to go that way. Or, what the hell did I do over there? That's supposed to be this. So I think I've said it a few times before, but I always try to give myself a bit of time before submission on anything I do, where I can give it not a rough sweep or tangents or line weights, a slow, methodical sweep to make sure everything is where it needs to be. Because you will inevitably find out you've made a mistake somewhere and you might have missed it, especially when you're talking like this as well. I think it's very easy to make a mistake. Like a few times now, I finished the stream, gone and looked at what I'd just done and thought, the answer to that was so simple. Why didn't I just do this? And it's a few minutes where all I'm doing is thinking about the drawing instead of talking and drawing. I can solve something very quickly. And so if you've seen me post up after the stream and it looks a little different, it's because I either spotted a problem that I didn't spot while I was working on the picture, or I just immediately had a better idea giving something like that my full attention. So next week, there'll be no more GODFELL. You know, I will genuinely miss all these guys. I was going to jump straight into some odds work where I could maybe just work on background so I'm not spoiling anything. But I've had a request to draw Lara Croft, So I'll probably do Lara next week, and after that, then go the route of taking requests and working on the odds. And there's one thing I haven't talked about Zanzi quite a lot, and I did an interview recently for the book tour that GODFELL is doing, where they asked about who influenced designs of the characters. On Zanzi, it was Sidel Knoll. There was very little influence from anyone else. And throughout the book, as I needed to pull reference for character acting moments, Sidel Knoll was the point of reference all the time, and she always delivered for me. It was never, oh, I could do that with a bit of this, or a bit of, maybe try that there from that one, or it was always Sidel Knoll, and it was mostly her performance in Glow, the way she can go from being an intimidating group leader to those moments of self-doubt with her husband, and the way she can kind of just change her whole presence from one to the other was something I really tried to steal. I thought it was really good. But if there was someone I'd love to take up Zanzi's performance in, I don't know, whether it be a game, animation, be amazing. Or live action in any one of those media, it is Sidel Knoll. Just checking something there. Thought I played around with my layers a bit. Always watch Never Tangents. Try catch them as soon as you can. Don't just leave them to the end. I was talking about character earlier on the stream, and things you could do to really land who that character is that wouldn't really cost you much effort. And one of the things that kind of bothered me that I missed, but it was too late to go back and change it when I was working on the book, was with Net, actually, because she was kind of dealing with something privately, and it was kind of eating up inside her, and she would see things that didn't exist, and don't want to give too much away, but she was really working through something. And one of the things I wish I hadn't done was give her like fingernails. Like, I think she would have been a bit more like a Frodo Baggins, or in all the close-ups on Frodo's hands and all the rings, eating his fingers down to like a stump. There's almost no nail left on them. And I think that would have been a really great thing to do for Annette, just to really land that not just change in her character as the book goes on, as I've talked about, but early on where she's not that confident individual. That would have been a really good thing to use. There was always something on the back of her mind. She was always eating her fingers, just trying to deal with it physically, some kind of physical representation. Ruler and sketchbook is just fantastic. Such a huge amount of variation. It's okay for these things to be a little wobbly, not pristine. These things have seen a lot of combat. They've knocked a lot of heads. They've knocked a lot of people off their steeds. Seen some wear and tear. So you can display that on these as much as possible. These things are telling a story just like your characters are. There was one thing actually in the book that I really wanted to do with Zanzi that I didn't get the opportunity to, and the few times that I thought I did, I kind of felt like I was upstating a moment, and I was just doing something for the sake of it being fun to me or cool to me. And it was using the pauldron on Zanzi's other arm here, the one I'm about to draw. I wanted her to like shove someone into the wall and use the pauldron to just kind of squat their head up against it, or their neck, and as a means of either questioning somebody or just beating somebody up. I kind of thought that would be a little bit different. I haven't seen much of that in anywhere, and this kind of shows a side of Zanzi where she's able to turn just about anything into a weapon if she has to. I got to show a little bit of that in her fight with Demolish, the Nilai monster. That guy who wears the Triceratops skull, the elephant guy. And where that was one of the few people she fought who was just vastly bigger than Zanzi. And the way Zanzi had to fight, demolished it, had to change. She couldn't overpower this guy, she just wasn't strong as it, and I had her do loads of jiu-jitsu and throws, rolls, arm locks, that kind of stuff. Just just to show that Zanzi's not stuck with one realm of fighting to hurt people. She's versed in several and adept at all of them. Let's go up here. Goes this way. Sorry, a bit lost in the pencils again. Really need to spend more time with the pencils. I keep thinking I've done enough, and I keep going, hang on, what's that? What's that little smudge in there? Is that supposed to be a shoulder? You know, keeps catching me. What time are we at? Okay, we're over the 2 hour. No, we're just coming up to the 2 hour. We'll try and get Zanzi done, and then I will gauge what's left after that and see if maybe I'll finish the rest on another stream, or I'll finish the rest off stream. Not sure. Oops. I'm drawing this in, but I'm fully aware that a lot of the hair is going to come out and around it. But I don't want to have to try and find it after I've drawn the hair, so I'm just going to put it in now. Again, that's absolutely something I should have figured out in the pencils, but we are working digitally, so we can use that to our advantage here. And it does work in such a way that I didn't spend enough time on the pencils. It also gives me opportunities to, if I spot something that could be better, and while I'm already working on something else, I have the opportunity to open a new layer and experiment with that and see if it actually would be better. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But when I used to have to draw it on paper, I'd have to get some tracing paper out and draw over what I was doing, see if it is better, a better pose, or a better way to put someone on a panel to lead their eye another way, that kind of thing. Because you can use your characters as kind of arrows to bring the eye from top to bottom, left to right, and depending on their pose, you will succeed at or not really. And you can use elbows as arrows, that kind of stuff. And even the way they're moving can bring the reader to a certain point in your story, or it can fail to do so completely. Depends on how good you are at it, and it's not easy. It is a bit of a trick. There's a bit of figuring that stuff out as you're doing this. And it's one of my more fun parts of it. I love the thumbnailing and discovering what I can do with panels to try and tell the story. Not just the drawing, not just the inking. It's all a lot of fun, but I love paneling. I love figuring that out. All that problem solving part is just great. Throw in a few stray hairs as well, but all have to be blocked out in big clumps. But you do want your clumps just to kind of keep shape, again, leading the eye where you need it to be. So not just will I be getting my first trade paperback, the GODFELL completed series out this week, I'll also have something else coming out, or probably not near the end of the week. It will be coming out on Friday. If you're watching socials, if you're about it, if you're on the newsletter, you won't be able to miss it. And you can sign up to the newsletter on the website, fantasy.com. Something a bit different, something I haven't put into the shop before. I think I should have had it there from the start. I'll say no more. But over the next 2 days, I'll have it out everywhere. So if you follow me on the socials, you'll be covered. If you have a newsletter, you're definitely going to see it. I hope you like it. It's going to be a bit of a fun one, I think. Here's that Sidel Noel scowl I've been trying to get right for a year now. No one scowls like her. It's awesome. And then you see her social networks, and she's just one of the happiest people in the world. You kind of wonder, what does she happen into to do that? Just because her hair is blowing there, you might not see her scarf, but it wraps around here. Okay, back in. I'm going to just kind of hop around a bit here. Oops. Yeah, come on. There we go. Someone else described inking to me as not inking. It's still part of the drawing. And then I kind of feel like when I first heard that, I was crazy. What are you talking about? You ruin your drawing with this permanent ink. You can't drawing when you get to the inking stage. The more I do it, the more I think that's probably right. If you kind of go into this very rigid, you can end up with something quite poor. But when you have a little bit of room for things to flex and be used the way they're truly intended, you can come away with something far stronger than, say, trying to choke something into being a certain way, because that was your presumption that it could only be that way. But I used to worry about things like, oh, I know I could make those marks there, but I mean, that's going to look like in print then. Would it not look kind of weird? If I did those lines as pencils, would an inker know what I was trying to do and do those? Because I was so keen on penciling, I just did not want to ink. I was terrified of. I just knew there was no going back as soon as I was inking. But bit of friendly advice from Sean Chen and a whole bunch of others really had me come around to it. He's a bit. There we go. Bring that up a little bit. Ah, come on. There we go. Okay, so just watching this entirely now, trying not to get lost in some of those pencils I have. I really could have put a bit more effort into the hair before I got here, but here we go. We'll figure it out now. Kind of find that the more you lean into something, the more you're going to find it. And so if you're not sure about something, don't be afraid. Again, being brave really pays off. Just get in there and see what's available, and you can often come away with something that's far more of a win than you would have got just, walking around the edges. Plus, like, when you're working digitally, you can undo, you can erase. It is far more forgiving, especially when you haven't thought about it enough. Like I should have. Well, thanks a million for joining me tonight. This is actually the most people I've had join me on the stream yet. I think that's great that happened the day the trade came out. That feels good. Oops. Getting there. Getting there. 2:13. We'll go another little bit. But I think I'll probably have to finish this another day. Oops. Here we go. Yeah, I'm not gonna rush this just to get it done on the stream. I want to do it properly, give it the time it needs. Might I'll put stuff out on my socials if I'm going to do a stream and finish it, or if I record something separately, maybe. I haven't done local recordings in this thing yet. That'll be a new thing for me to try out. And then post up that. So I'll probably have to fit this in around work. And I don't know how forgiving work will be over the next few days. So maybe I'll record it locally and put out a kind of a little video then of the entire process, unedited, and then maybe another one like I do with the usual streams where there's a 6 and 4 minute version of the entire thing, kind of done in fast forward. Excuse me. Oops. Well, get Zanzi finished here before I do anything close to calling it a day anyway. I thought about doing this when I was working on the book for a cover. And I don't know why every time I thought about it, I went another way. But it's such an iconic image, the Death Dealer. And I don't think there's a fantasy fan in the world who doesn't love Frazetta's work. So it was something I was quite eager to do. I don't know why I'm only doing it now. And why I almost forgot about it, and I'm only doing it now. I'm very keen to ink up that sky. There's a lovely brush sketchbook for it, and I almost did it on the Esper drawing last week. I think it was last week, and then changed my mind for another kind of effect on the shadow. I'm dying to really get into that brush. I don't think I've ever really used it for what it's really capable of, and I think almost like painting the sky here would be just exactly a thing a brush could do well. Nah, too scraggly, don't like that. Get out of here. Again, one of those advantages of working digitally. When you get a little bit of an idea, you can just go for it. And if you don't like it, you can just let them do it. But like that request I got to draw Lara Croft on one of the streams, I'm very open to requests from anyone else. Is there another character you'd like to see me draw? Maybe someone you think would really suit my style? Maybe someone like that, like one of those prints that I've been drawing this year, like Magic or Deadpool or Dazzler. I'm open to it. Let me know what you think. I drew that the wrong way around. These are actually her braids, not the hair that's kind of just falling down. So it might be a bit looser. But it'll go in that direction as opposed to a comfy thing all the way down. So I don't want to just go for what looks good. I'll try and render it appropriately. Excuse me. Yeah, voice and everything starting to pack it in. I'm gonna have to finish this another day. Apologies. I kind of thought that would happen. It's a big one, and to do it in 2 hours would have been, I think, possible. But I don't know if I would have done a great job of it in 2 hours. We're going to get that lovely ruler sketchbook for these arrows. And I realize that every time I've kind of drawn Zanzi since I finished the book, I've drawn with a rake of arrows and knives and things in her back. They're definitely there in the book as well, but I definitely wasn't drawing them every time I was drawing. I swear I like her. She's been such a great action hero to draw. Really enjoyed this book. When you're drawing the fletching and on the arrows, I never feel like they have to be symmetrical. I kind of find it's always a bit more pleasing when they're a bit ragged looking, you know. You can get a bit more out of it sometimes when you can clearly see not just straight out of the arrow factory and straight into Zanzi's back, and she kept him there clean. You know, you can show that some broke, some have just had more blood thrown on them or whatever. You know, whatever happens on the battlefield with Zanzi. These things are subject to a bit of a beating as well. Okay, turn it up, turn that off, make sure these are going where I wanted them to. Yes, it's okay. Now, ruler, because some of these lines don't need to be organic and wobbly, they need to be kind of just straight. But with this ruler tool, you can get a bit of weight change in the line and get a bit of life back in there. You won't lose it completely, but you do want to differentiate this line from her and her armor and organic elements. And I remember like going to college and being told never draw with a ruler, and then I would go and look at artists like Eric Kennedy. I hope I'm saying his name right. He's amazing, and he'd break out the ruler for loads of stuff. Like, as soon as I kind of realized why, I saw the point, and I realized what the teachers were referring to. You know, they are right. When you do go to the ruler, you do lose some life, but you do it right, and it can just kind of aid your drawing. It'll make it absolutely obvious that what you're drawing is not a man-made, or is a man-made object, and would be subject to being just quite straight. So, yeah, I have no issue with grabbing a ruler these days. too much kind of scuff marks there. But these parts have really seen. That's the business end of the act. They're going to see some scratches. Get in there with it and make it look as used and as gruesome as you want it to be. Again, ruler. And I will just finish this off now. We're already at 2.5 hours. I think that's kind of a long time. So I will come back and finish this either another day or locally, and then I will post up the video afterwards. I really don't like how wobbly. Better. Get to Here it is. All right. There we go. And get rid of that line. And again, this is the business end of the axe, so you can take a few notches out of it. It's seen a lot of work. Just kind of adds a bit more life to things, more believability. It's something I kind of hate when you see them in TV or film where all these people are wearing what looks to be brand new clothes, It just kind of takes away from the illusion. You feel like you're watching someone on the stage for the first time in a wardrobe that's never been outside of, the factory. And then, okay. So there is our rat pigeons and Zanzi and the horrible. I will finish off background. I do it another day. Could I do it in the next half hour? It's getting kind of late, Ben. Yeah, I think I'll have to call it a day. Thanks for tuning in. That was the biggest audience I've had on this yet. Thanks so much. I will finish this over the next few days locally. So what I do want to draw the God as the last GODFELL creature. So there we go. I will leave it at that for the time being. I'll come back with some more drawings later. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the questions. Really enjoyed all the chat tonight. That was really good. Hope to get more of that again soon. But great day. Thanks for picking up the book. Thanks for tuning in with all the live streams I've been doing. Thanks for all the interest in GODFELL. It's meant a lot. Hopefully a little more in the future. Thanks very much. All the best.